said Italy. What do you sleep on? A mattress in the back of my van, he said, as if she were trying to argue him out of it, but he'd ceased to care. With a dog. Unemployed, thought Italy. Then immediately, it doesn't matter. Let him go. It's over. Amlis has gone away. No one loves you. The police are moving in. Go home. But she had no home to go to, not really. Not unless she did her job. Pushing back defeatist thoughts, she tried instead to reason with the vodsel at hand. If you own a van, she challenged him politely, why are you hitchhiking? Why not drive yourself? Can't afford the petrol, he muttered. Doesn't the government give you, an allowance? No. No? No. I thought everybody who's unemployed gets an allowance from the government. I'm not unemployed, he retorted. I own a business. Oh. Isley saw out of the corner of her eye a peculiar change coming over his face. Colour had risen to his cheeks, and his eyes glistened, with a feverish enthusiasm, perhaps, or tears.
I'd like to introduce you to a novel that has a brilliant critique of gender relations between men and women. And it's very positive spin on male vulnerability. And as you can see, or you will see if you ever decide to read it or listen to the audiobook, that it's coded, of course, because anything like this has to be coded. Now, how is it coded? Here's the condensed version of what the story's about. This young lady, Cecily, I'll get her name right, is an alien who, of course, is surgically altered to look like an attractive female who acts as a honeypot to attract male hitchhikers who she then interviews to see if they're worthy, and then she will drug them, take them back to their home base that's on Earth, and remove their tongues and their testicles and fatten them up for the dinner plate back home. That's what she's doing. And Cersei herself, of course, she looks more like her people look more like animals to us, but in their eyes, they look like human beings, and we're the ones who look like animals. So the effect is that she is in constant agony from being altered by the surgery, and she sees herself as a freak and hideous. She also sees human males as subhumans that she has to deal with. And here's the setup too, is that the bigger the better, the more meat on the bone. So when she picks up hitchhikers, she doesn't pick up scrawny or weaklings or small guys, and of course no women. And that's the excuse why they pick up these big strapping men. But that's how it's coded. Because when you look at what's going on, she picks up these big, strong guys, and she herself is very small. She's described as being just barely 5 feet tall. And these guys open themselves up to this woman. And the whole time she plans on the worst for them. They're the ones who are in danger, not her. This is the other thing. She has to interview them because she wants to find out if they'll be missed or not, because they only have a base on Earth. And Earth is still run by human beings, and they don't want to be found out. So her interview with these guys to find out whether they can disappear without being noticed is no different from what the average woman would say when she's sniffing out a man's status in a date. Are you married? Do you have any children? What do you do for a living? And this is the critique that no one else has seen from what I've seen, and no one else has talked about. It's gone way over people's heads. bad part is this seriously picked up about half a dozen guys over the course of the story. This last guy, she actually starts feeling empathy for. She actually starts gaining connection because she hates her life. She sees herself as a hideous freak now, and she's in an alien world. And guess what? She's the only female there. In typical real life fashion, all the aliens there are all low status males of her kind, which she avoids, and she lives alone and avoids them. She sees them beneath her as well. Those low status male aliens, right? So she feels utterly alone. And here's these guys, when she talks about, like, at the first you think she's not sexually turned on by human males. She sees us as animals. But she'll when she's saying, oh, he's a big strapping one, she's thinking like he's a big 12-point buck. He'd look good on the dinner table, right? And these guys are coming in and opening up to her and being vulnerable. And it's not affecting her whatsoever. There's a young German guy she picks up who's telling her how he should be at university. His parents want him to become a doctor. And here he is playing hooky, going across Scotland, thumbing across it, because he doesn't want to be a doctor. He can't stand the pressure of it. And of course, these guys are just opening him up because she thinks, oh, this woman, this is the person that I'm safe opening up to. And she's the last person they should ever do it. And this is what people miss. This is what people miss. Now, The Guardian, which is feminist trash, as you know, reviewed the book and said, the real triumph is Farber's restrained, almost opaque prose. Now, The Guardian, I suspect, didn't see what I saw. Because like I said, the feminist trash, you know how, I suspect they read the parts where these big guys were drugged and then had their tongues and balls removed. And they said, wow, this is the book for us. Just like it'd be no different than Nazis finding a story where the Jews were being kidnapped and tortured and mutilated. Same idea. Now they made a shitty movie version with Scarlett Johansson. And I know you can't, there's a reason why you have to adapt a book to film, because you really couldn't make this story on a film, I don't think, as it is, not 100%. But they still removed the most important part. Scarlett Johansson is, attractive, and she's really a construct. But most importantly, it's ambiguous. And people can put in their own little twist in the story. So it loses this critique on male-female dynamics. Because here's the thing, in the story, the author tells you what's in Cersei's thinking while she's talking to these guys. But he also says what's in the guy's mind when they're talking to her. They show the man's view and how they see Cersei. And so you have these two human beings in the car, and you're getting an intimate look into their minds. And there's no connection between them, which is so perfectly analogous to real life. Like two, a man and a woman trying to gain connection, and not, because let's face it, the woman in this case doesn't want to know the man. She doesn't see him as a human being. She just looks at him and says, this is something I want out of him. How can I get it out of him? And again, Cersei here, it's a very poignant ending where this last man she speaks to, because she hates her life and he hates his life, she gains connection to. And that's when she quits doing what she's doing. She just can't do it anymore. And she finds consequences. it's very sad that she is punished for coming to empathy with men. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful ending, though. I wouldn't have altered it. And I won't give it away. But it is very sad. And again, people don't realize it. Like these people who watch this shitty version here, they'll miss out. And even the ones who, read the story probably miss out. They don't see that it's really quite a brutal critique about how women view men. I promise you, if you ever decide to listen to this story, you'll see it. Just lastly, I like this cover the best because it looks the most accurate to how they describe Cersei. I guess they couldn't really do much with her eyes, so they put her with these giant glasses to hide her eyes. Yeah, but this is close. This is more of an uncanny. She's got a bit of an uncanny valley look to her because the surgery isn't perfect. And of course, you do end up feeling for her, especially since there's a character arc where she becomes a better person. So it makes you feel sad. Anyway, it's my recommendation. If you feel like listening to it, please do.